I hate doing presentations. So instead, I'm doing a video. And in this video, I'm talking about 3 minerals. And those are phosphorus, magnesium, and sulfate. And the first one I'm going to be talking about is phosphorus.
Now the first function of phosphorus is that it helps with the structure of bones.
Phosphorus combines with calcium to form the hydroxyapatite complex that eventually gives bones its structure. Bones.
The next function is energy production.
Phosphorus can be found in ATP in the form of one of 3 phosphate molecules. Now ATP is used in the body as energy. When one phosphorus molecule breaks off the chain, it releases energy that the cells use for what? For everything. Why is that important? Because it's underlined.
And finally, as the last function, phosphorus serves as the backbone of DNA molecules, which eventually in turn leads to the synthesis of proteins.
Next, we're talking about sources of phosphorus. Now, foods that contain high amounts of protein also contain decent amounts of phosphorus. So for example, we have dairy, and for those examples, we have milk and cheese. Anything that contains milk will have high amounts of phosphorus. And next to that, we have meats, poultry, and seafood. For those examples, I put buffalo, the dodo bird, and whales, all valid sources of protein. And underneath that, we have legumes and seeds. So we have soybeans and sunflower seeds, both good sources of phosphorus. Now what's not listed though is processed foods, because processed foods have high amounts of phosphorus, but they're inserted as additives. So, you eat processed foods, you get your ass phosphorass. Next, we're on to deficiencies and toxicities of phosphorus. The RDA for phosphorus is 700 milligrams a day for adults. Anything under that, and you'll get these symptoms of muscular weakness and bone pain. For toxicity, the UL for adults is over 4,000 milligrams a day. Now, if somehow you happen to pull that off, the symptoms are the disruption of hormonal functions, and in extreme cases, kidney failure through calcification, heart disease, and bone loss. Calcification is the hardening of smooth muscle, which explains why the kidneys would fail and why you would get heart disease. Now we're on to the functions of magnesium. The first function is that it plays a role in energy production. Magnesium is responsible for adding the last phosphate molecule onto a strand of ATP. ATP, still very important. Thus, magnesium, also important. Magnesium also plays a role in synthesizing essential molecules. The ATP created with magnesium, in turn, helps synthesize DNA, RNA, and protein. Magnesium, just like phosphorus, helps form the structure of bones. 50% of the magnesium in the human body is found within the bones and acts as a cofactor that creates a structure for bones. Magnesium is also involved in 300 plus essential metabolic reactions. What they are, I don't know. So next up we have the sources of magnesium. Now magnesium can be found in high abundance in dark leafy greens. So for example, I have spinach and kale. Any dark leafy green that you can think of, it'll have a high abundance of magnesium. And next to that we have nuts and seeds. So for example, I have this pumpkin puking his brains out. He's puking out seeds. Pumpkin seeds are high in magnesium and lots of other minerals. Also cashews. And now an obscure one is hard water.
And finally, for magnesium, we have deficiencies and toxicities. The RDA for men is 400 milligrams a day. For women, it's 310. If you are deficient in magnesium, you potentially could suffer from weaknesses of the muscles and confusion. In extreme cases, You may suffer from convulsions and muscular twitching and even hallucinations. The UL for magnesium is 350 milligrams per day from non-food sources. By non-food, that means supplementation, as in vitamins. If somehow you are able to overdose on magnesium, your symptoms will be diarrhea, dehydration, low blood pressure, and alkalosis. Alkalosis is the raising of your pH level within your body. Your body's pH would become more basic. In extreme cases, this can lead to cardiac arrest and respiratory distress, and eventually death.
Next up is sulfate and its functions.
Sulfate plays a role in the structure of proteins by forming the disulfide bridges that give proteins its shape. Sulfate also plays a role in the part of vitamins and hormones within the body. Sulfate is part of the vitamin biotin and thiamine, which is in hair, skin, and nails. Sulfate also is within the hormone insulin.
Sulfate can be found in all foods that contain protein. So meats, fish, poultry, legumes, nuts, eggs, all have sulfate.
And finally, sulfate deficiencies and toxicities. There is no known sulfate deficiency due to its dependency on protein consumption. Severe protein deficiency would need to occur first. In regard to toxicity, growth suppression is one of the symptoms, but it can only occur when protein is eaten in excess.
Done.